Or Pod. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who are doing a deep dive into a book series, one book at a time. Right now, we are shiting on the Wheel of Time, reading the third book of the Robert Jordan series in the Wheel of Time. So,
Dragon Reborn.
The Dragon Reborn. And boy, do they say that a lot.
It's said a lot throughout. So,
I mean, he has been reborn, but
Mhm.
Rand still isn't sure, even though the end of the last book said,
oh my gosh.
I am the Dragon Reborn. But we'll get into that pretty soon. Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Basically, this week I only read The Dragon Reborn.
That's fair.
So I thought I'd just bring up a couple of books that I read somewhat recently. I read them like the end of last year, the beginning of this year. And
Totally
that's
fair.
Beartown by Fredrik Backman and Anxious People by Fredrik Backman.
Laura has a huge, major crush on Fredrik Backman's books.
Love his writing so much. And I just thought both of those books were really great. I know people are a little mixed on how they feel about Anxious People, but Beartown was great. I thought Anxious People was great. I loved A Man Called Uva. So
A Man Called Uva is so cute. I did read that book. I own Anxious People. I haven't read it yet. It does look like the most mainstream of his books. Like the other two seem almost like a different dissection, but this one seems a little more mainstream. So I could understand why people who love his other work see it in a little bit of a mixed way.
Sure. Yeah. And I also have Britt-Marie was here on Scrib, but I haven't read that one yet. I'm told that it's very similar to A Man Called Uva, only it's like a grandmother.
I think that that's true from what I know.
So
they have similar covers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he's growing as an author and he's trying different things, which is always good. And sometimes people just hold an author to like the same standard. And it's like if your favorite author wrote every book, like the one he wrote before, he would be, in fact, Nicholas Sparks.
Sure.
Because that man, sorry, he cannot write a unique novel to save his life. But like, yeah, people just let writers do challenging things. Don't force them into a pigeonhole where now they can only write like they love each other.
Yeah.
But someone or something becomes between them. And one of them is sad because they lost a loved one before. And at the end, they fix it. And it's beautiful. No, don't
they
thank
make
you.
Out in the Rain.
Oh God. I remember watching The Notebook as a child and lying to my cousins that I thought it was as romantic as they thought it was because I wanted to fit in.
I think
true story.
The movie was good, but I could not get through the book. I did not finish it.
Did read the book and I also read the sequel to it and both of them were not good. I was not a Nicholas Sparks fan. I tried because like high school
I tried
people
because
were
of
reading.
that book or because of that movie and then I could not finish that, so I never tried any other ones of his.
I do frequently read the Wikipedia synopses on what happens in a Nicholas Sparks movie. I realized I had to stop reading them. I think I read 2 of his, and then I read one called A Bend in the Road, and in 20 pages, I knew what was going to happen. Like, I just knew. I was like, oh, her brother, like, it's spoilers for A Bend in the Road. Jump a minute, I guess. But, like, it starts with his wife had died in a hit and run like 2 years prior. And then this woman comes to town and her brother has been depressed for 2 years. Well, guess what's going to happen? The brother was definitely the cause of the hit and run. So that is the event that kept them apart. Her brother murdered his wife on accident. And within 20 pages, I knew exactly what was going to happen. So I flipped to the end, realized
that's always
I was
the worst when you can call it.
And that early, like I did not read enough to know. It was very stupid. So then I was like, oh, I don't like him as an author. I don't have to read him anymore.
Yeah.
So but I'm glad you liked Anxious People because it shows like you can grow.
I loved it.
Oh, good. I can't wait to read it.
I love all of Fredrik Backman's stuff that I've read so far. So I've just read those 3, but all of them are great. Highly recommend.
That's good to know. Are you watching anything?
I've been watching a lot of New Girl.
Still.
I watched recently the episode where Winston was kind of he had a rival in his future girlfriend Allie's boyfriend, and it was just so funny because the boyfriend was an agent for cats.
Yes.
And Ferguson had to audition and everything, and I think it's a little funny how they portray Ferguson as being like just a normal cat, and it's like he is so abnormal. Like nobody has a cat that looks like that.
I actually have a friend who has a cat who looks like that.
Really?
With the smush face. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
His name is Michelangelo.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
I'm
want to squeeze him
obsessed with
because
that
they're so
cat.
cute.
I know. I am not a huge cat person. And one day I was
cats.
like it was a law school friend. And one day I was talking to someone and I was like, I actually would own that cat. Like I want Michelangelo as a cat. He is so cute with his smushed up face.
Like Persians and Himalayans with their flat faces. Oh my gosh. Love them.
No, I know a person who has a cat like that. So
okay, I guess I'm eating my words then, because I was just like, nobody has a cat like that, and they're acting like he's just some run-of-the-mill cat that you can just find. It's like, no.
Did we discuss this last week? How like one of my favorite episodes is when Nick goes on the sad person bar crawl and just gets that breakup. Like after a breakup, and he gets like a huge group of people who are just sad and lonely on Valentine's Day. And Cece is like so drunk. She's trying to out drunk Nick Miller. I'm gonna drink, and she like gets this like low voice, and she's like, "I'm out drinking Nick Miller." And then, Schmidt says something to her, and she goes, "Let's murder him," and he goes, "Cece, you are hammered." Like without a doubt, one of the funniest lines of New Girl that makes me laugh every single time. It's like
I also really liked the episode where I've obviously watched a lot of these episodes, but it was, they moved into their house, Schmidt and Cece did, and then all of Allie's family came over and visited, and then they were dealing with how to like keep all of their friends out because they just kept like coming in all these different entrances and everything, and then Schmidt ended up locking both of them out. It was just so funny, and he had to go through the chimney to get back in. Oh
my god, such a good show.
Max Greenfield is just a really good actor, so he's just like so over the top about everything, but it just fits. It's just perfect.
I recently saw that like the whole thing about him throwing his coffee grounds into a little baggie and then throwing them into the trash so that it wouldn't make his trash dirty is actually a Max Greenfield thing.
Oh, like, really?
He does that. And so he told people, they put it in the show.
Oh my gosh.
In that episode, Coach like picks something out of the garbage and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's my coffee ground so my trash doesn't get dirty." And Cece's like, "Yeah, he does that." It's just like, it's an actual real life thing.
I did not realize that.
Well, and he also realized that Jake Johnson in real life hates being touched. So that's why Schmidt is so touchy-feely, because he just like messing with Jake Johnson and touching him when he was like, "Why do you keep touching me?" So
I'm apparently a lot like Jake Johnson then.
I mean,
I feel very uncomfortable when people get my bubbles, so I can totally relate to him. What are you reading right now?
I had a book club book that I did not finish, but I did go to the book club, called Searching for Sylvie Lee. It's pretty good. I mean, I would say it's a book club book. Like, it's easy to read. I could have
heard of it.
I was trying to read it at the same time as the Dragon Reborn, so I just didn't get around to finishing it because I had a friend over on Wednesday instead, and it was a whole mess. But it's about the beginning of the story is like Sylvie Lee goes missing, and her sister didn't realize it, and she's been missing for a week. Mm-hmm. And you find out that like when Sylvie was a baby, her parents sent her over to the Netherlands to live with like their cousins because they couldn't afford to keep her in New York. They're all Chinese immigrants, and like one was very rich and the rest were poor. So they like sent for her because the woman in America, her grandmother was the caretaker of the cousin's baby. Mm-hmm. And they like wanted to, like the mom kind of says they wanted it because they didn't want her to come over to us to help me raise my baby since it's my mom. And then you find out she like lived there for 9 years. She was over in the Netherlands, and then she was like forced to come back to America. She felt very isolated and like estranged from her family because her little sister didn't have to have that happen to her. So she feels like the little sister was loved more. She was always like a picture perfect child. And then she goes over back to the Netherlands because her grandma's dying. And like you find out there's a whole lot of family secrets going on. And it's like from the perspective of Sylvie 2 months before her disappearance, and then her sister's experience in present day. So overall, and like you get to see other people's perspective as well, but like not as much as those two. I would say they are the main characters of the novel. Okay. And it's a wild ending, apparently. Found it out in book club. I'm still going to finish it because like I want to read how that
Sure. Sometimes even if you have spoilers, it's kind of nice just to read it yourself.
Right.
To have that experience.
Well, I'm kind of a completionist. Like, unless I really hate a novel, I'm going to finish it. Like, if it's fine, that's whatever, I'll finish it. Sometimes it's easier to read like a fine novel.
You have more willpower than I do. Like, sometimes if I just like do not like the book within the first few chapters, I'm like, okay, done.
Well, I also like skim. If I'm into it, I'm just like, whatever, I'll finish it. And like, I'll just fast read it. Like, I'm not going to like dissect it like we're doing with the Dragon Reborn.
Sure.
You know,
don't have notes.
Greatest novel alive. No.
The greatest novel.
It's the one we've liked so far the most. Like I could say that.
Yeah.
And then, as I said last week, I read The Beautiful Ones by the author of Mexican Gothic. It was also fine. Like it's a pure romance novel.
Okay.
I didn't love the ending because I thought like they had a really good theme about someone being bitter towards another person because that person, like the first person, is bitter because they had to make choices in life to like protect their family and to like not soil their family's reputation, and everything was weighing on them. And then they hate this other character who kind of just goes about life like willy-nilly without trying and without any of the stress that person has. And I was like, this is interesting as like two characters in a love triangle where two of them have conflict this way.
Sure.
And then in the end, they kind of just make her a terrible person. And I was like, you guys you had something so unique, and then you just like made her a villain. And I just want to like characters. And it's frustrating when it's like, you took everything that was interesting about this character and just like made it the opposite. And that stinks.
Yeah.
And I'm not here for it. Like, I can understand disagreeing with the way, like, you know, she doesn't, I wish I had the life she had, but like, because I don't have her life, I'm going to make everyone around me miserable. Maybe not the right way to go.
No.
That's why I loved the Lux series. I thought that was like a YA novel series that we've talked about before. I felt like even then the villain like did a lot of crazy messed up stuff, but then they humanized her in the end. And it's like, that works better than villainizing a person you were kind of understanding of in the first place. It's a good book. And if people like Mexican Gothic, I wouldn't like deter them from reading this. It is not the same genre as Mexican Gothic, but like we were saying, well, Backman, you should be able to write whatever book you want and have people buy into it. As for TV shows, I haven't really watched anything lately. Oh, I did. Wait, no, I did start watching Cruel Summer on ABC Family because I thought it was 3 episodes and then it turned into 8. And I'm not sure I care enough about that TV series to watch 8 episodes.
Never heard of that.
I would not recommend it. It's just like, well, I guess I would recommend it if you like this style of show. I don't want to bash anyone's taste. It's a show I'm interested in knowing what happened, but it's like 3 days from the same character's perspective and in the like over the course of 3 years. And so like it introduces like a 15-year-old girl who's super nerdy and out with her friends. And then she sees this girl named Kate, and then they like break into a house where this guy like is about to move into. And then it like jumps to a year later, and Kate went missing, and this girl is now popular and like pretty much has Kate's boyfriend and like Kate's old life pretty much. And then they find out that like Kate was actually locked in the basement of the man's house they broke into that one time. And then a year later,
very dark,
this girl is like the most hated girl in the world because Kate says that she saw her in there and didn't save her. So and then like the next episode's from Kate's perspective. So I watched the first episode and I'm like, this is incredibly interesting. And I'm like interested in knowing what happened. I'm not sure I want to watch 8 episodes of this. Like, I think I wanted 3 episodes and that was it. Yeah. And I think it just gets like, I mean, it's a teen drama. So like it's a la Riverdale, I think pretty much. And everyone knows I only watched 1 episode of Riverdale and then I was out. So, you know.
Did you ever watch Pretty Little Liars? That's what I always think of when I think of ABC Family.
I watched season 1 with 2 of the sorority girls in our house when we were living together in the summer in that like really weird apartment building. We would watch Pretty Little Liars together.
That's one of those shows where I feel like it's kind of similar to what you were saying, where you're interested, but at the same time you could drop the show at any moment.
Yeah, I did not care to finish Pretty Little Liars at any point in time. And Cruel Summer, I think, is an interesting premise. I think I'm too old for it. I am 30. That's a fair assessment. Maybe I'm too old for this particular show.
Could be.
Yeah. But overall, if that sounds interesting, check it out. But I haven't really watched anything else. I've been mostly just listening to the Dragon Reborn because everyone knows I procrastinate and then I have to shove a book into a week long.
So, okay, fun fact. Did you know that the audiobook narrators for the Wheel of Time series are married in real life?
No, but that's very sweet.
Isn't that so cute? And really, they do a very good job.
They do.
I've been very impressed with the audiobook because I've been doing audiobook and reading, so I do a mix of both. So usually like at night when I'm home, I'll read, and then I'll listen to the audiobook during the day when I'm at work and stuff and have time.
Well, I mean, they're award-winning narrators.
Oh yeah, but I didn't realize that they were like married. I was like, that's very cute, and they do such a good job, and I was just like really surprised by that.
That's very cute. I like that.
It's Kate reading, and I can't remember the other guys.
I have it right here. It's Michael Kramer.
Michael Kramer, yes. But sometimes audiobook narrators can make or break it for you.
That's true.
And many a times I've gotten an audiobook and I've decided to quit it and just read it myself because I did not like the narrator.
Sometimes though, I will say Michael Kramer, like we'll have just gotten a chapter done of like a queen's voice, and like Kate reads it in a very specific way, and then he'll do a queen's voice, and I'm like, that's not the same thing. That's not the same tone. But that's my only criticism.
He like makes Lan sound like Lan sounds like such an old man. Sheepoda.
Yeah, it's just like he's very, very deep throated.
Yeah.
But no, I just sometimes when he's like, a queen, Elaine, you can't be doing it. It's just like a queen could have a little bit of a deeper voice.
Or whenever he does Moraine, it's like I could, it's like almost ASMR where it's like, oh, I can fall asleep when he's saying this.
You do not know what you are talking about. But we do like them. I understand why they're
very good. These are like good. I like them a lot.
Critiques because I've listened to hours of them.
Nobody wants to listen to me read a book, so I'm just I'm saying they're doing an excellent job. I love them.
That's amazing.
I was just pointing out that they're married, and I didn't know that, and I thought it was cool.
No, I think that's very cute. But yeah, other than that, I haven't been. I did. I'm trying to do like one thing that brings me joy, like booking a vacation in July to like drive out to the mountains with my dog. And I did the other day, I was like, I was dancing to one of Lady Gaga's music CDs. I love Lady Gaga. The most recent one. There are some bangers on there that like you can dance to your apartment too. And my roommate walked in and she was like, oh, you had a good day. And I was like, no, I had a panic attack, but it's going great now. Oh. And I just danced it out. So yeah, Lady Gaga is like a good summer stuff. Like her most recent album, I feel like it didn't get a ton of love, but there are some fun parts on it, like Rain on Me. I think I listened to a podcast where on me. They were like, we didn't have enough time with Rain on Me before the pandemic shut down. Like you needed to hear that in clubs way more than we were able to. Not that I ever go clubbing, because trust me, I don't. But I like understood that sentiment. Yeah. I wish we had longer with Rain on Me. But
oh my gosh.
That's funny. That's a good album to listen to. It's a fun
oh yeah, I have that one. I love it.
I feel like you and I are like pretty good Gaga fans. So
I love Lady Gaga.
You know who one of the biggest Gaga fans was? My mom.
Really?
My mom loved Lady Gaga. Whenever she got a new CD, she would be like, could you pick that up for me in the store? So she just, all of my mom's CDs were Lady Gaga.
Still uses CDs, and I have Lady Gaga CDs in my car just because my car has a CD player. It's an old car. So I still am on the CD train.
I know. I do on Spotify now. But I listen to it on Spotify, so it all worked out. Spotify, where you can listen to On Wednesdays We Read. Okay, but anything else to add before we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right, so we are on the third book of the series. Just so much happens in this book series, guys, so bear with us.
These are all thick books too. I mean, this was
like so much happened in this book.
700 pages.
So the first thing I want to highlight is this is the first time we barely see Rand at all. And I would say up until this point, he is I know. I think it makes it better. It's so good.
Okay, so
I was kind of like, why did we have this book where it's just a bunch of friends who are like all surrounding this main person, but you never get his perspective?
I know.
This is so much of a better story.
Okay, so we both enjoyed this one a lot. I liked this the most out of the three that we've read.
It's my favorite so far.
This is my favorite so far. And remember last time when we were asked what we wanted, and we said we wanted, or I said I wanted a book about Perrin.
You got 9.5 chapters. I know. The first book is your wish fulfillment.
This book was the Perrin book, basically.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Perrin, and I think
so much Perrin.
It makes it so much better. Perrin is one of the characters that pretty much everybody likes.
Yeah.
And his perspective is so interesting. The things surrounding him are so interesting, and it makes the book better. And this sounds horrible, but it's so much better when we're not in Rand's perspective all the time.
Yes, it is so much less whiny. It's so much more dynamic. And I do think it helps, like in Rand's defense, in his mind, like he has to save the world and then die, like, and then go insane.
Sure.
That has to be a
he's
hard
definitely
thing. Like at
tragic,
least,
and he's got so much going on that
Right.
he's trying to deal with that I can't imagine, but
right.
it's
But at least with parents, like I can fight what's happening to me and I can
right.
figure this out myself. And I may use my powers, but it's by choice. So
Right.
he is more dynamic, unfortunately, which is why I'm like, oh God, wouldn't it have been cool if it was just this book where like it's almost like in the West Wing, they had this idea floating around that they would never show the president. They didn't go with it, but he would always be like leaving the room. And then it was just about the people behind the scenes, like not the president, but the people working for him. And I'm like, this would have been an excellent way to write this book where Rand is just like this guy who everyone is surrounding. We see all of their different perspectives. And then you just like, don't really get to see it. Like you get to see his frustrations in the outward sense, but never his actual, like, I can't go mad. I can't go mad. Like,
I wish Perrin were here. He's better with girls than I am. Oh my God.
But he's like, in this book, Jordan is playing so much more with like more viewpoints are on the table and more understanding of characters, incentives and wishes and dreams. And it's growing and expanding on their story in such a great way that like,
it's better.
I didn't need an entire book of Rand crossing the country by himself to get to Tyr. Did not need it. So glad I didn't have it. That would have, because that's like him in the Portal Stone of book 2. It went on way too long. I didn't care. I just wanted to know he got to the end of it. Like that's a better story. So,
and honestly, book 2, if I was a little nervous after the Great Hunt, because I thought, okay, if the next 12 are like this, oh my gosh, this is going to be very difficult to get through, because it was honestly kind of a forgettable book for me.
Yeah, I don't know if I could.
I finished it, and then like 2 weeks later, when we started talking about it, I was like, I don't remember a lot of those.
I know, it's crazy. So much happened in this book, but yes.
But so the Dragon Reborn is much better.
So much better. I loved this book. So getting into it, the prologue, we open in on White Cloaks, and you have Niall in the Fortress of Light in Andor, and Jarrett Byer is coming to like talk to him about what's going on. Niall's like the Lord Commander who told people where to go in the last book. There's like a picture of Rand showing he's the false dragon. They announce that Jeff from Bornhold was destroyed by Aes Sedai, aided by dark friends. That's what they say, you know, calling themselves Xian Chen. Byer's convinced it was Perrin's fault because he knew Perrin from the last.
Was the one that did it.
Well, because Byer hated Perrin in the last book. He was the one who like tried to murder Perrin. So he had, and I think he saw him in Xian Chen, in the Xian Chen area while all the fighting was going down. So he's like, I remember that guy. He's awful. And then they say that like Aiel are in the land, which is very strange. And then Carradine comes in and like Niall tells him to keep Rand alive. Carradine blames Bornhold for like not going into Talmud, even though in the last book he told him to back off from that. And Bornhold ended up not listening to him anyway and dying, but still. And then Carradine leaves and Niall contemplates his grand plan. He plans to recreate the nation of Almuth as a like White Cloak empire. And then squeeze people into like certain areas of land to like control them. His long-term plan is to like spread his influence so that Tarman Gaedon occurs, and he will be the one to lead the forces of the light against the shadow spawn hordes from the blight. Then Ordeath, which means wormwood, so guess who that is? Spot on Fane. Comes in and he says that Perrin, Rand, and Matt are dark friends, and Two Rivers is a good place to find dark friends. Then it shifts over to Carradine leaving, and all of a sudden a fate is upon him because he is a dark friend. And he tells him to kill Rand, and he will lose one relative a month if he fails.
For every month that he fails, a member of his family is killed.
Yes, but Niall just told him not to kill Rand, so conflict. And then he beats up his servant because he is not a good person. And then, as we said, Laura gets her wish. We get 9.5 chapters of Perrin's point of view.
Perrin! Yes!
Yay! And he's like on a mountain. They've been hiding out during the winter months to like wait for spring. He's hanging out with Min.
They're like down in this little like low area in the mountains.
And they went to go get someone who Moreno was like, hey, someone's out there waiting for me. And so they go out and they get her. She's a tinkerer. Leia. And they bring her back. She talks to Moraine, talks about how White Cloaks are pushing out Tarbiners and Damani rather than attack Rand's followers. But 3 men resembling Rand have been killed, likely by Grey Men, you know. And then Min saw Leia and says that Leia will die. And then when you find out that Rand and Moraine have been fighting all the time because Rand is incredibly upset that like people are dying in his name, which fair. fair. And Maureen's
That's a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah. And Maureen's just like, you have to deal with the guilt of all these men dying because there's a greater purpose for you, which like, oh God, that's gotta be hard to hear. And so at some point he like has Sidene run through him and he creates an earthquake. And like Leia
rips up a bunch of trees and stuff.
Yeah. And Leia got hit in the head and Perrin was like, please let it be that. Please don't make her die, you know. Then we find out that Perrin is having weird dreams and he sees a man who asks if he will give up his axe. Then he seems to appear pretty much in like a Rand dream. It sounds like when you're reading it, because you see a beautiful woman in white who asks if he wants glory.
Oh
so that's got to be Selene. And then he sees like a stone bridge. And then there are two men arguing, one with black hair, one with white. Another man comes in. The man from the inn comes in and they're afraid of him. A ball of fire comes up. He sees a wolf on a ramp. He sees columns and hears the phrase Collindor. Then a wolf tells him Trollocs are coming. He wakes up and there's a huge battle where, surprise, surprise, Leia dies. Perrin kills a Fade and like wolves come into battle. All but one of them die. And like he ends up howling and kind of like freaking people out. Min and Perrin talk to Rand and Rand's like upset because Sidene caused this because the Trollocs were kind of shown this place because of what he did.
They're kind of drawn to him.
Yeah. And then Perrin is kind of getting worried that he cannot control his wolf side or the wolves like Elias did. And that's like a huge overarching theme of him in this book.
Controlling the beast within.
Yeah. Maureen tries to heal people. She like half heals an injury that Rand had in the last book, like on his side. And then Rand runs away and they think it's to Tara because of the dream. Like everyone had that dream because you find out that Rand is like so
he's
powerful.
projecting his dreams on people, which is okay. So there's a lot of dream stuff that happens in this book and I really love it.
I was here for it. Like he repeats himself a lot. Jordan does, but each time they were in the dream world, they did learn something new. It wasn't like the same. I mean, sometimes it was the same dream over and over again, like when you hear townsfolk having it, but it wasn't the same thing for the people inside the dreams. Cause we have people who kind of work in dreams. Cause I think Perrin's a dreamer too, in his own way.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah. Like Maureen tells Min she has to go back to Tar Valon, which Min is pissed about because Min only wants to find a husband. Like that is actually something she says. She just wants to find a husband. And then Maureen is like, Min, you can't come, but Perrin and Loyal want to come. Loyal's like, I want to write a book. So yeah. And then
how much do you want to bet that the books that we're reading were written by Loyal?
I mean, I don't know, because then you'd have to have him doing shifting perspective. And can you see Loyal talking that much about human breasts?
I don't know, but he does mention how beautiful Selene is all the time.
Jordan talks about boobs a lot. He always says breasts, but like you can't say
arms under her breasts.
The necklace dangled between her breasts. You could say close to her heart. Like that is a better way to phrase that.
No one will understand what that means.
Oh my God, so dumb.
We need the exact location in the cleavage is where the terangrial
between
is
two
at.
freckles,
whatever, some kind of amulet thing is at.
But whatever. Maureen wonders if the Forsaken are free, naming Lanfear, Samael, Asmodine, Bilal, Rayan, and Ishamael. Some of them. They head out.
That they say his name is Ishmael instead of
Ishmael, because Jordan didn't want Ishmael because it's too close to Catholicism or like Christianity.
It throws me off every time they say it because I'm like, oh, is that?
I think it just that is how it's said. They head out. The men does a reading for Perrin before he goes. He gets real upset about it. She says she sees him.
She keeps trying to do it, and he's like, no, I don't want to know.
I don't want to do this. And then she's like, hey, I'm going to tell you, and he's like, no, but
there's a falcon and a hawk on your shoulder. Bye.
Yeah, there's a falcon and a hawk on your shoulder. She sees an Aielman in a cage, a Tuathan with a sword, and she tells him to run from the most beautiful woman in the world.
And basically, we learn in this book that anytime Min makes any kind of prediction or tells you what she sees, that it's going to happen in the book.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to happen in the back. Then Perrin's like, hey, I don't like you like that. And Min is like, yeah, me neither. And Perrin's like, wait, you like Rand, don't you? And that is a conversation they have before Min leaves. And then he goes, does a queen know? It's just...
So that's the part that like made me laugh so much because it's like one of those things where he's like, did you tell the queen? And then it's like he has some kind of internal thought about the queen and Rand had almost been promised to each other since they were children. Like, okay,
oh
really?
my God. So then he sets off with Moraine. During this talk, like Moraine keeps joking about how Land she'll like send him to Muriel. And I'm like, could you not do that to Land? It's super rude. And like,
Well,
it's
and
not
he's bothered
funny.
by it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so if you were in a relationship and like your partner didn't want to get engaged and you did, what if your partner just walked around being like, well, you know, we're never going to get engaged? Like, that would just be like, this is a serious conversation that we should not be joking about.
It reminds me a lot of this episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, where Frank and Marie Barone, like Marie plans out who she wants Frank to marry when she dies. And it's another lady at their church or something like that. And he's so bothered by it. And he wants her to pick somebody else and all this. And it reminds me of that because Lan is so bothered by Moraine bringing this up and everything. And he's like, you're going to be around as long as I'm able to protect you.
Right. And then she keeps trying to like send him off so she can die. And he's just like, no, I don't want to. That sounds awful. And she's just like, but I might die. And it's just like, could you not like have some respect for the man who protects you just once? They head into a town called Jara where Perrin smells something bad, which is foreshadowing for later when he gets attacked. They find out that people are wedding like crazy in the town, and Rand played music for them there. It was so weird.
Was that like the most random thing ever? They're like told there's been a bunch of weddings and they're like, we're looking for some guy. He might have been playing music. Like, yes, he did play music. And you know what? A bunch of people got married.
Well, it's almost
how
like,
random.
I think it's like people wherever Rand goes, like Saidin like escapes him pretty much. And I think it's supposed to be like
forces people to get married.
No, I think it's like because he's out there in the world, like dark forces are also working against him. So I think people get like it's almost like animals who smell a hurricane coming. Like I think people are aware that something's going on. And it's like mostly the women because the women were forcing men to get married. So I think people have like some kind of, they're tuning in to the brokenness of what's going on around. Because like they go to a couple towns where they're like, these people feel broken inside. And it's mostly people who are like controlled by the Dark One or by one of the Forsaken. That happens in the future. We'll get to it. But like, I think it's more people feel something in the air that's like pushing them. And like Saidin just makes people kind of do crazy things. That's kind of what I picked up from it, but that's a theory.
I mean, that's better than what I had because I didn't have
anything.
And I just thought that was dumb. Like, really? You can't have anything else. So it's like, I feel like even a change in the weather would have made more sense than like Rand goes through a town and everybody gets married.
They also said that like white cloaks are kind of going crazy and like making trouble with women. And like some of them are like leaving and it's just a mess. And then they meet this man, Simeon, who asks for help from his brother. And Perrin like asks Maureen for help and they go down and they find out that this man is just like Perrin, but he has gone.
He's in a cage though.
Yes, he's in a cage and he has pretty much become a man, like a wolf inside of man's body. Like he's not, there's nothing left. They
find out that he bit someone. He killed a cow with his teeth. And his brother said that it all started with him just like kind of saying weird things when he was drunk. And then he just got to the point where he started acting like a wolf all the time. And
so Perrin kind of just says like, you might just want to let him go and run into the wild.
Right. And he says, well, he'll die. And he's like, well, he's going to die in a cage. So it's one of those things for Perrin where it's just like, is this how I'm going to end up? And Maureen tells him, you know, I don't know. You might.
But she tells him to watch out in his dreams because like that connects him to the wolves much more than anything else. And like wolves, he needs to control that.
We learn they live a lot in the dream world.
Right. They exist on both worlds.
Yeah, which is cool.
Then Perrin immediately falls asleep and goes into a dream.
Careful in your dreams.
And it shows him Hopper, who was one of the wolves who died in one of the previous books. And like Hopper told him how much he wanted to fly, and then he like realized Hopper can fly in this world, and he like is very happy for that. He sees a beautiful woman who's angry that she sees him, and then he also sees a man killed in front of him in his dream, and he wakes up with bloody clothing, showing that you can take what happens in the dream world into the real world. Then we get the first look at Rand, who's like destroying a dark hound with white light, but he's sick and he's scared and he wants to get to Tyr to stop all of this madness because he is the Dragon Reborn. And then it jumps over to Egwene. She's traveling back to Tar Valon. She has been dreaming about Rand Matt's very sick.
Randa's always in her dreams.
Yes, always. I mean, his life pretty much exists with her. And then White Cloaks approach Varen, who they're traveling with, because Varen, Elaine, Egwene, Nynaeve, Matt, and then Huron, who like leaves immediately.
He was kind of like their traveling partner that was, I guess, kind of protecting them, and then he just kind of pieces out.
But also, they didn't need him.
Yeah, they didn't really need him. I don't know why.
But then these White Cloaks appear. They're very contentious. Elaine tries to she drops her name, and then they're like, no, your mom hates Tarvalon now, so she would actually be glad we brought you back. And then what? Egwene gets mad and raises the earth to scare them off, and Nynaeve and Elaine do it too. Varen is very upset with them.
They all cause a big earthquake.
Yes. And then you find out that the leader of the crew was Dane Bornhold, Jeffrey Bornhold's son, and he says, you killed my father, which they didn't, but that's what he thinks.
Sure.
They arrive in Tarvalon. They find out the White Cloaks have been making trouble. And then they find out they're in trouble because Shiriam, the novice teacher, comes up. They also meet quite a few other Aes Sedai, including Faolain.
Faolain. So it's why do they all you have to Elaine and then Faolain? Really, why do these names?
And then Theodrin. And Theodrin is not about these girls. So then it goes over to Suin Shanchi, who is the Aes Sedai, or who's the Amarillan seat. She learns that Rand has declared himself, and that the false dragons who are out there were really taken and executed. So it just seems like there's only Rand left. She gets the horn, but she finds out Matt sounded it, which we talked about. And the last time,
you called it on that. I had that in my
notes.
Someone
else actually called it.
I said, oh, good call, Hannah.
I'm pretty sure that I was listening to another podcast. I'm pretty sure it was FTF podcast.
Really?
I think Charles mentioned something and I picked up on it and was like, that'd be cool. Forgetting that Charles has already read the series. So he just knew. So there's that. I didn't call it. I don't deserve credit. So there we go. But I used it as a discussion point, and now I'm giving credit where credit is due.
Cool.
Now that he is bound to it, he is the only one who can sound it unless he dies.
And basically, as long as he lives, it's just a useless horn.
It's just a useless artifact for everyone else.
But if he dies, then it's something that people can use again.
Oh, and we also meet Leanne. It's the Amarillan seat main helper person.
Yeah. Then she's back, second in command.
Yes, she's second in command. Then we go back to Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve, and they're all punished. But Elaine and Egwene are going to become accepted because they're too powerful not to. Elaine is told
they've been through a lot, so their power they've kind of jumped ahead.
And they kind of tell Elaine, you have potential to be the most one of the strongest Aes Sedai in 1,000 years. But Morghese wants her back, her mother, because she was upset that Elaine left the tower. She doesn't trust them anymore. She will no longer have an Aes Sedai, which hasn't happened in hundreds of years.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting about Elaine is she would be the first queen to be an Aes Sedai.
Right. Because she wants to be an Aes Sedai really badly. And most of the time they're just trained by them. They do not go up. They also find out that Leandrin left with 12 other women, which 13 is an important number for this. And they stole a bunch of Terangrial. Okay. And on their way out. So they're all very concerned about this.
And they killed 21 people or something like that, right?
Yeah, they killed people. It was really bad, but people keep getting murdered in the keep, which has never happened. So they're very nervous. Morghese also wanted Galad and Gawain back as well, but they insisted on staying, all that stuff.
Yeah, because they're training to be warders. Basically.
And then she kind of dismisses Elaine from the room, and she tells Egwene and Nynaeve that they are the only two she can trust, because right now she isn't sure who to trust. She knows Leandrin tried to take them away for a reason, so she finds them trustworthy. She says she considers Lyanna, Shiriam, Varen, and Moraine as trustworthy to the fullest extent she can, which Nynaeve jumps in and she's like, you can't trust Moraine. And the Amarillan seat is okay, moving on.
Okay, you can't trust Varen.
Nynaeve swears she can't. Yeah. She thinks that there are others in Tarvalon that she can't trust. So she gives them 2 letters authorizing themselves to work in her name, and tells them that they need to look into it, but she can't help them very much. And they won't have much communication, all that stuff. Nynaeve asks about Matt because she doesn't believe they care about healing them. They try to go back to Egwene's room, where they're attacked by a gray man. They run after him. Nynaeve stops him with air, but they find him dead with a dagger in his chest. Shiriam arrives and covers him up and says this hasn't happened since the Trolloc Wars. She tells them to go to Nynaeve's room, but Egwene runs back and gets the crossbow bolt that actually hit her when the gray man
Yeah.
attacked them. Nynaeve sees Shiriam cover up the gray man, and like this is something that we see out of Nynaeve a couple of times this time, where she will look at Aes Sedai doing something and she's like, I think I figured out how they did it. Like I think I've deducted how this happens.
The other thing she notices is that Shiriam like never said like who stabbed him.
Right. Like she didn't ask questions, and Nynaeve was like, that's suspicious.
She's like, wait a minute, don't you know who stabbed him?
Right. So then they go back to Nynaeve's room. They find Elaine with Gawain and Galad. Galad hits on Egwene. Like Nynaeve kicks him out.
Yeah, I kind of laugh at all the times that Nynaeve just like I feel like she does this. She abuses her power. She'll be like, "Are you allowed to be in the acceptance room?" And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that was a thing." She's like, "Get out." And then the other people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that was a thing." And she's like, "It's not. I just wanted to see if it would work." And it did.
Yeah, and it did. And then like Elaine says that Gawain is in love with Egwene, but he will ignore his love because Galad saved his life once and he likes Egwene, you know. And then Nynaeve immediately tells Elaine that they're hunting Black Asha.
I know.
Even though they told her not to.
It's one of those things where it's like the Amberlin seat says, don't tell anyone, but you guys are going to be hunting Black Asha. And Nynaeve's like, okay, I won't tell anyone. She gets back to the room and Elaine's like, hey, so what was that about? Get this, we're hunting Black Asha.
Immediately. Well, and then like Elida enters. Oh no, first Nynaeve is like, I don't think they're going to heal Matt. I'm going to figure out how to do it. Even though she has in fact traveled with him for hundreds of miles.
Why could she not
never
just do it?
Been able to do it before this moment? Like Jordan has the worst times to say like,
I know.
I think Nynaeve is going to come through with a powerful moment and a powerful monologue and fix it all. And it's like no,
she had so many opportunities the entire time they were traveling.
She should have figured that out by now. It should have happened. Like do a flashback. I don't care. Just do something different than that. So then Elida comes in. They're just about to like channel to they decide maybe we could all channel together. Right. And so they're just about to channel together, the three of them, for the first time. And then Elida comes in and is like, what are you guys doing? And then she like pretty much hints that she thinks they're associated with Liandrin, and asks like, why did you leave the tower? And it's weird that she's speaking so openly about the Black Aja too, because usually that's kind of a taboo thing. When she like yells at Elaine for hurting the relationship between Aes Sedai and Andor. Which it's not Elaine's fault. She got kidnapped, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody knows that. But like Egwene tries to cover it up and says like, oh, we left to help our friend Matt. He came back with us. And then Nynaeve is like, but we can't speak on it. And then Elida gets mad. And then she asks them about Rand, which suspicious, man. Dude. Yeah. And then Shiriam enters and takes them to go to Matt's healing immediately. So that plot point about Nynaeve doing it herself, unnecessary. Right. It was just unnecessary personality stuff. And then like Nynaeve watches them do it and she's like, I could have never done that. And it's like, yeah, we all know that. It's one of those things where it's like she's watching 10 Aes Sedai do that and she's like, wow, I don't know if I'd be able to do that, but maybe about half of that I could do. It's like, okay, so 1, yeah, you probably couldn't do that. 2, that's pretty bold of you to think that you're going to be able to have the power of like 10 people. Yeah. So that was her. And then Matt starts speaking in the old tongue. Egwene recognizes it's scary. He's like seizing and and like it's hard to remove the dagger. Egwene recognizes a term called for the honor of the Red Eagle, the Red Eagle. And then it sounds like he's like ordering people into battle. And the last phrase is, I am free. I'm a free man, Aes Sedai. I am no Aes Sedai meat. And then it cuts over to Matt. He wakes up and eats a ton. He discusses some of his background, which is actually the first time we really get to learn anything about Matt outside of what other people view of him. Which it's interesting to have Matt's really perspective. Yeah, I actually really liked that they like opened up to it. He does remember like calling soldiers against Trollocs and murmurs in the old tongue. He's slowly getting some of his memories back because he doesn't fully remember even some of his friends. So he's slowly getting memories back and remembering what happened during that time. He also discusses like the background that his dad was an amazing horse trader. He always like wanted to get a good deal. He was always like very involved in stuff, all that rot. And he has one of my favorite lines that I did tweet about where he's like, Rand's insane and Perrin, I just don't recognize him anymore. And Nynaeve and Elaine are going to be Aes Sedai and Light. I'm the only sane one left. And I said, hot take. When you think you're the only sane one in the room, you might not be the sane one. You're not. Like, you're factually inaccurate at this point. Yeah, burn me. And And so then all of a sudden a woman comes in who introduces herself as
Celine.
And she's like, you want glory. And he's like, yeah, I want
You
glory.
are more likely to seek the glory than Karen or Rand. Well, duh.
Have you met him? And then like he has the horn, so now he's useful to her.
Mhm.
And then she tells him that like the Aes Sedai won't tell him that his father Abel and Tam came to Tarvalon looking for him and Rand.
And he also questions her. He says, "Are you a dark friend?" And she's like,
How
not
dare
exactly,
you?
but
I have no Aes Sedai.
Like I'm equal to the most powerful man ever, but
right. But like, don't worry about it. Look the other way. And then like at one point he kind of like pushes back on her and she like touches him and like gives him a headache. And then like all of a sudden hears something and leaves, which is not suspicious at all. The Amarylline seat comes in and Leanne, and they tell him he can't leave. Like they've given his picture everywhere. Don't even try it. He tries it for one time at least. And they're like, you're so weak. You're going to be like eating pounds and pounds of food. And like, you cannot exist without eating a ton of food, dude. So just don't leave.
Apple cores.
Yes, like he is eating.
It's mentioned like twice, I think, where he eats the entire core. And I thought,
he's
wow,
so hungry.
That is a lot.
And then they tell him that like he is now bound to the horn, so he can't just go home like he wants to, like, or else they would have to kill him. And Shal Ghul wants it, and if the Shadow knows he blew it, he'll have dark friends and worse after him, which he never takes the hint that he keeps getting chased throughout this book, and he's always like, it's because Elaine gave me a letter. We'll talk about it, but like it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I was gonna say, he keeps mentioning. Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah. So then it cuts over to Egwene. She's like working in the kitchens. Varen comes in and tells her to come upstairs. She says she thinks she's a dreamer and gives her a Terra Angrial that was
the last dreamer
by the last dreamer, Corianine. Sorry, these names are a mouthful and a half. The last Terra Angrial was used by the last dreamer, Corianine. I think that's how you say it. And it's supposed to like help people be more like it allows people who aren't dreamers to go into the world of dreams.
But she doesn't give her a ton of info on it. And she tells her it's dangerous too.
Yes, she says it's very dangerous. You like can definitely channel in the dream world because you're already a dreamer. It's much more useful to you, but like she doesn't know much about it. And then Egwene leaves and like it shows Varen like looking at the notes she has. And
she had a ton of notes on it and she's like, best just to let her figure it out herself.
Well, but she also said that they were confusing. Like she didn't say that they made sense. You know, she thought about even burning the notes because she thinks that they're too dangerous because they don't make sense to anyone. But still very weird. A queen is like headed back up, and then they tell her that she has to attend her acceptance, which like rude to do when you made them work in the kitchen all day, and then it's like they're exhausted, and you're gonna make them do one of the worst trial experiences of their life. Let them take a nap first. Like, come on. But anyway, she goes and like
just a pass through the 3 arches.
Elida is there and is like, I don't want her to do this, and people are like, you asked to be here.
Didn't you think it was so weird that she was like happy for Elaine, but then she's like, "You're not ready, Egwene." And it's like Egwene is ready.
You asked.
She's more ready than Elaine. Like,
if you don't care, like, what are you doing? So anyway, she goes through the 3 arches. In the first one, she's married to Rand. They have a baby,
Joya.
And like Rand is a great dad, but he has these huge headaches. There's war everywhere. And then he starts like having a headache and he's like, help me, Egwene. But the way back comes but once.
Back comes but once.
So she jumps back in.
Be steadfast.
And then in the like here and now one, I forget which this one is.
That's the one where Rand is trapped under some beam.
Oh, and she can't get to him.
Yeah, she leaves him to basically just be crushed.
Right. And then the future, she is the Amarylline Seat.
This is what I want to happen. I want Egwene to become the Amarylline Seat.
Me too. She was part of the Green Aja. She notices this because her second-hand lady, who's always the same as Aja as you, was green. But in this one, Elida comes in and she's like, you have to go downstairs to the like huge hall. So they do. And then they bring forth Rand because he has named himself a false dragon and they have to steal him. And Egwene refuses to do it. And so then Elida is like, she can't be the Amarylline Seat because she swore an oath and she's not following through on it. So then they capture her and then she is taken to a bunch of Black Asha and fades. And there are 13 of each of them. and they're going to still her. And she's very scared. And then she gets away from them and she sees Rand below where they're about to like still him, and she's freaking out. But then the way back comes but once, and she has to jump through. She gets back and she like screams like, am I just destined to hurt him over and over and over again? Which wrong thing to scream to a room full of shady people, but okay. Yeah. But then she finds out that like something dangerous happened. They weren't sure she was going to be able to come back.
Well, before she went into the archers, there was a strange noise.
Right.
And they shouldn't have let her go in, but then they let her go in. They're like, oh, no, it's probably nothing. Right. No, it was something.
But they like rise her to accept it. And then they find out that like that dangerous thing that could happen can happen if like two Terra Angreals are close to each other.
Yeah,
that are
so the ring that she got from Varen
was like could have murdered her pretty much. So she's just like, I'm glad they didn't look through my things, because Varen also gave her notes on all like the Black Aja and the Terra Angreals that they all stole. So that all happens. Matt wakes up in the tower again. We like shift on over to Matt. He goes around the tower. He's kind of ignored by people, including the girl from the first book that he met on the farm with Rand.
Elsie.
Right? And she like ignores him and like runs away from him. And he's like, what's going on there? I thought she liked me. And he talks about wanting to dance. He says he's going to dance with every single woman he meets all the time.
There's some girl in the corner. I'd ask her to dance if I was
And he also says Rand and Perrin are so much better with women, but in this case, I do believe him. I do think he is the worst with women.
Agreed.
He seems to be kind of that creepy man who would have believed in negging a woman. Like, that's what I get from him.
Or he's just like the one that's like constantly badgering women, like, come dance with me. Come on, come on.
You don't
want
to dance? Aren't you a fun person? Why aren't you?
Don't you want to just have fun? Come dance. Come on.
Agreed.
Fun.
So he also like finds this half staff and he realizes he needs money. So he like asks Gawain and Galad, like he wagers them that he can beat them down with their swords. And they're like, you're sick.
With a quarterstaff.
With a quarterstaff. Yeah. And so he's like, I bet you like 2 silvers that I can do this. And they're like, no, you're sick. We don't want to do this. And Rand's like, or Matt's like, what are you, chicken? And he finally gets like their coach, their trainer
is like, challenge him.
Yeah, like he challenged you, just do it. And then like Matt takes them to task, even though he's sickly, like he just knows how to work it. And the guy is like, yeah, our best trained swordsman, the only time he's ever fallen was to a farmer with a quarterstaff. So
who do we think that is? Tam?
Right, probably. So like he ends up like hurting Galad, and like women just rush Galad like it's nobody's business. And he's like, I need my silver coin from him. And the trainer's like, don't even try. Here you go. Go away now.
Gowan makes some kind of comment like, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them makes him their warder in that amount of time. Like, oh my gosh.
So creepy. And so like when he's talking to them, he like speaks in the old tongue, because the trainer's like, you speak in the old tongue? And Matt's like, what's he talking about? And he's like, hey, where are you from? And Matt accidentally goes, I'm an Atherin. And then he's like, that's not where I'm from. I'm from Two Rivers.
Yeah, he's like, 2 Rivers.
Whoopsie. I'm Rand Althor from Two Rivers. So then Egwene is like back with Nynaeve and Elaine, and she's going to go like hop into dreams to see what happens using her powerful Tangriel. She goes in.
She's been having some bad dreams.
Yeah, she's been having some bad dreams. So she's going to use this to try to make more sense. She goes in. She sees Perrin sitting next to a wolf with a beard. And then she sees Rand, who's like convinced it's not her. And he's like, I've seen so many. My mom tried. My dad tried. Even she tried with her glory. And it's like, you mean Celine? And then she sees Matt like weighing his own left eye on a scale. Sanchen, she sees Matt and Sanchen, she sees him speaking the old tongue, and then she awakes, and she hears from Anaya, who was like Green Aja, who she asks like, what's Green Aja like? And then she's told that they're like people who fight battles, you know. And she told her that dreams about Tavern are always most significant, and since all 3 boys are incredibly significant, that is interesting. The 3 girls are looking into Black Aja. And so they're trying to go about it the best way. Egwene had a really hard time in the dreaming thing. So they're trying to discuss who can use the Tangrial, which is also called a twisted ring, which I'm going to start calling it because it's easier.
Yeah, it's way easier to say.
Yes. So Egwene like decides she can use it again, but she suddenly sees Elsie Grinwell, who's standing at the doorway, and she saw the twisted ring, and she tells them that the Amaryllis gave them directions to the basement to look at all of what the others had collected. She quickly leaves, and Egwene like runs after her, and she doesn't see her, but she sees a woman who's very pretty in white and silver, and she tells her to leave, and Egwene automatically obeys, and then is like, what, why did I do that?
I know.
But she searches the gallery. She doesn't see anyone. So then they go downstairs. They go into the basement, and it's locked. It's locked. They break in because you find out Egwene knows how to break into locks really, really well.
Yeah, she can use her powers to like bend metal.
She's definitely good with earth, she says. And so they look in and they see a lot of like the tags have something to do with the city of Tyr. And so there are so many obvious signs that like it has to be a bait, but they like are kind of into using the bait. So they're still
like, kind of in the situation where they're like, we know this is a trap, but okay.
A trap. Yes. So they're like working in the kitchens.
Because they have to finish their punishment first.
Yes, obviously. Before they decide they should probably leave and go to Tyr, even though it's a trap. And
Varen like asks them too. She's like, have you made any progress with the Black Aja? And they're like, wait a minute, what?
But she does go back one more time into the world of dreams. And she like tries to channel. She can do it. She sees Perrin holding himself and Hopper. And like, she also sees like she ends up going into this red stone columns, which Perrin saw before. There's a crystal sword floating in the center. And then this ugly woman, the first ugly woman we've ever seen, who is named Sylvie, says she served Egwene's family for years. She says that they're in the heart of the stone in Tyr. Tyr. It's full of answers and secrets.
Yeah, that's where you'll find answers.
There are great lords plotting their agendas. She says Ishamael is a fool.
She says Ishamael.
Yeah. And she says he's a fool, and that shocks Egwene. Egwene asks about the sword, and it's identified as Kalendor. She can sense Saidar and the barrier around it and realizes the blank spaces must be Saidin because there are two different barriers like working together. They hear footsteps. Sylvie tells her she must hide because he's coming to stare at it again. And then Sylvie like goes to grab Egwene and like try to pull the twisted ring off of her. And like Egwene wakes screaming. She tells them about everything except for Perrin and the wolf. They realize
because she was like, that's Perrin's secret to tell, which I thought was kind of cute.
That's very sweet of her. I think she just understands, and like she actually knows what's happening to Perrin, so she's respecting his privacy, which is amazing. They realize the heart of the stone must be their target. They must go to Tyr. Elaine says she must send a letter to her mother, or she will send the whole army down on them. And then Nynaeve is like, I know who can take that letter.
I know someone just dumb enough to do it.
Yep. And then they go into Matt's room. They ask him how he's doing. He's like, I'm probably good. And then Elaine's like, can you carry this letter? And he's like, she's so pretty. I kind of have to.
I'd ask you to dance if we were back in Emmons Field, but
when he
danced with Egwene and Nynaeve a couple of times.
I haven't danced with Moraine once. But when he had gone out the last time, he had like tried to say, is there a ship nearby? And the guy's like, yeah, there is, but you're not getting on it, Matt. We've gotten your description and you can't.
Yeah, aren't you Matt Cawthon? Yeah, we know who you are.
We know who you are.
Go.
And he's like, I guess the Amaryllis wasn't lying. And it's like, yeah, she wasn't lying.
Why would she say, I've given your picture out? Like, come on.
Oh, also, he did ask I don't think I said this, but Celine told him that his dad and Tam had come, and he did ask the Amaryllis, and the Amaryllis like begrudgingly told him, and he's like, I can't trust her.
Yes.
Yes, they came. We didn't tell them anything about you because we didn't know what was going on. We'll send word to him that you're fine, I guess, now that you asked about it. But he was like, last time I tried to leave, when he's talking to Egwene, Nynaeve and Moraine, he's like, they told me I couldn't. And so they hand him one of the letters from the Amaryllis saying that he is doing her duty, And so then he decides he will deliver it. And then this is like kind of a turning point for Matt, because a lot of times throughout the last stories, he would make a promise and then break it. So this will be the first time he's actually doing what he said he's going to do. So then it like turns to Nynaeve. She tells the Emerald Seat, like the Emerald comes down to the kitchen. She asks about all of like what they're doing.
She's like, how's it going, guys?
Nynaeve is like, we need to go to Tyr. We know it's a trick. And then she finds out that Elsie left like a week ago, like a very long time ago. So that's like definitely
10 days or something like that.
Yeah. So like it definitely wasn't Elsie who came and got them. So someone's trying to trick them, obviously. But then she's like, hey, we looked at and we found like all this stuff about Tyr. And the Emerald Seat's like, we all went through that and we didn't discover it. It's just like, what? They said it was the easiest thing in the world to discover. Like,
and that's why it's like so many of these things, it just seems stupid. Like, okay, the smartest people ever didn't discover this, but then 3 people who just like come in, they're like, we figured it out.
Correction. She says that Elsie Griddle went home 10 days ago and that all the Black Aja belongings were burned. So those weren't even their things. So everything hinting to go to Tyr was like created. It wasn't like actually. And so
it's an imposter.
Yeah, it was an imposter who like created a bunch of different stuff. There was also another gray person, female,
dead in the bed or something.
Dead on her own bed, on the Emerald Seat's bed. Oh no, Shiriam's bed.
Yeah.
And then Nynaeve asks about Kalendor, and that like rocks the Emerald Seat. And she says that it is a powerful sangreal, which is for men, and that only a dozen Aes Sedai and a dozen others know what it really is. She tells Nynaeve that the Black Aja might be after Kalendor, or they might be after the Terran stash that is in the Stone of Terror, because they like have a hoard of this. And then she asks if Elaine is going with them. Nynaeve is shocked that she knows she told Elaine.
Well, she says, she's like, well, obviously, because she's not having a strong reaction to us talking about this in front of her, you told her.
Right. Like, I'm not an idiot. And so she's like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, I'll make up an excuse for why you guys had to leave. Like, you're going off to a field. And then she's like, you know, she had bullied people in the kitchen, and then she was suddenly nice. So, you know, and then Nynaeve's like, we're leaving as soon as this gets done. We switch over to Matt, who like goes out gambling at night. And then as he's gambling, he is attacked. He thinks it's people trying to steal his coins, because he's gotten like really lucky with gambling. Yeah. He just can't lose. And he just gets a ton of money. And he noticed that after Shardar Logoth, his luck has always been very good. And now it's phenomenal, where he just can't lose. And like this guy follows him to try to like get rich again.
Yeah, some drunk guy who
he upsets him.
To.
And then he says it's like some drunk man says it's the Dark One's own luck. So, and then like Matt is followed with men with daggers. He thinks they're pickpockets. And then like an ordinary man he didn't even really notice tries to kill him. He pushes the man off a bridge and lands on top of him.
Yeah.
But the man's dagger, which like he tried to use to attack Matt, was planted in his own heart. And so then
luck.
Yes, very lucky. So Matt like tries to look into an inn where he finds Tom
Merlin.
He like buys him a drink as Tom's playing. Tom gets done, he comes down, and then like Matt realizes he's super drunk.
Yeah, he keeps talking about his 2 lovers that he's had in his life,
and like Morgay, like he names Morgase and like Denna. And like the lady at the inn comes over and she's like, if I'd known you were talking about Tom, I wouldn't have given you the drink. She's like super mad at him, and he's like, how is he supposed to know he was drunk? He's always been fine, you know. But he like tells Tom about all that's been happening, and like how he has to go deliver this to Camelin, thank you. And Tom is like, you know what, I'm trying to punish myself, and I thought Tar-Valon was where I would go to punish myself, but Camelin's so much better, so I'm gonna come with you. And then he also says that there are no thieves in Tar-Valon, and so he's like, I wonder what happened, that, you know. So they go off to South Harbor. There's a dockmaster, and Matt's like, where's your closest ship? And and like he hands them the executive order saying I can leave. And the South Harbor man is like, why would I hear from the
why does the Amerlin tell me you can't leave, then gives me a letter saying you can leave?
Right,
what is going on?
And then Matt and Tom like jump onto a ship where like the guy is like, Juan Malia, like, is like, we're totally full. Everything's really expensive. I'm not going to throw someone out of my their room to make room for you. And Matt's like, I'll pay you whatever you want. And he's like, well, I'll give you my cabin if you have like X amount of money. And Matt like pays him. And so then he's convinced he's like a noble lord. And he like goes off on every other nation that isn't his own. And like the most, like, it felt like he was shouting out like racial slurs we didn't understand.
Yeah.
Like it was laden with like hatred for Ilion. And, and he was just talking so much stuff, and he's so contemptuous. And then he talks about how High Lord Saman has taught him special hatred for Ilion and Tarvalon. And Matt's just like, this guy's a lot.
Yeah.
and Matt also asked for as much food as he wanted so he could just keep eating pounds of food.
Well, because he never stops eating. He's just so hungry all the time.
To like heal himself. And then Tom is like, you could have gotten us a room with 2 beds, if you just asked for like an actual like shipmate's cabin instead of the captain's cabin. I hope you don't snore. And Matt's like, you snore, Tom.
Yeah.
And so then Tom falls asleep. He's snoring. Matt like can't stay awake, but then 2 men enter the cabin with knives and Matt kills them. And then he recognizes there's like more people up on deck. He hides himself in one of their cloaks, and he realizes one of the men is the guy from Tarvalon. He kills them. And then a 4th comes and Tom kills the 4th man. They see like this tiny little boat that brought the men is tied to the stern, and 2 remaining men jump overboard and swim for shore when they see Matt. Back in the cabin, like Matt is shaking and very, upset and wondering what kind of game he's playing. Then we
still like can't believe that he's this lucky.
Yeah. Then we see Rand. He's playing his flute. He realizes now that he saw Egwene in his dreams, but he has also seen others that just made him too wary to think it was her at the time. And then he notes that like seeing men who tried to kill him was the worst of all. When like
men tried to stab me in the back.
And it was like his father, his mother, and his best friend Perrin all tried to kill him, but Min hurt the worst.
Min's the one that hurts the most.
That is just, he can't stand it. And he keeps dreaming of Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine being trapped, but he worries most about Elaine. Again, not the 2 women he grew up with.
Yeah.
Elaine.
I mean, this is just, yeah.
Yeah. He dreams about Selene and Glory, but now she tells him to take Calendar.
And he dreams about it all the time.
Yeah. It's awful. So then we cut back to Perrin. They're nearing Menathendrel. He is riding a horse. He sees dog. Stepper.
I thought that was a cute name.
It is a cute name. Also, like at one point, Nynaeve names a horse after like the term for warder, and Egwene's like, "I know what you're doing,
Miss Land. Do you,
Miss Land? That's a bad name for a horse. I wonder why you picked it." But anyway, he smells this like foul odor and sees dog footprints. He recalls his dreams of Hopper and Egwene. Worried about all of them. They've been pushing hard. Rand's like not letting them rest at all. They keep finding like signs of Rand's passage through like all these different areas with like good and bad things that Rand has caused. So showing like he's losing control over his powers and like causing different things,
Yeah, he's kind of losing it.
And Rand and Perrin's kind of like, why is this happening? And Maureen's like, well, the creator is good, the dark one is evil, but the pattern is neither. It's like neutral. Right. So, Rand could cause good and bad as he is like doing this fight. So they hit another large town. Perrin smells the same bad smell. And in this town, there is a tall man in a cage who is an Aielman. Land takes them to like to this inn. The innkeeper says like, they were able to they captured the Aielman. It was a huge battle, Yeah,
the Children of the Light did.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Children of the Light did. And then he it's Hunters of the Horn. He says they ran White Cloaks out of town, I think. And he brags that they defeated 20 Aielmen,
Okay.
And he Perrin kind of saw them throwing rocks at like this man, like people were taunting him, and that just doesn't sit right with him. And then he also notices a young woman staring at him, which he makes him
so uncomfortable. And then he says something to Moraine like, she was staring at me and not you and not Loyal. And Moraine's like, well, Perrin, you're actually a good-looking young boy of the same age as her, so people might actually think you're cute.
I actually really liked that where Moraine's like, there's another reason a girl might be staring at you, right, Perrin? And Perrin's like, no, I'm embarrassed because Moraine has noticed I'm good looking. It's just so funny. But yeah,
Show the images.
and then they find out that there's been another false dragon, which like worries Moraine. And then Lan remarks that it must be Massima, and Moraine is just like super, super angry at him. Loyal comes to like Perrin, and he's like, the bed was sung out of like, they have like an actual Ogier bed that fits him, and it was like created by Ogiers who are wood singers, and he was so excited to sleep in it. Newsflash, he doesn't get to sleep in it.
Poor Loyal.
But so he decides like he's gonna go see the Eelman. He introduces himself as Gaul Shayan Matal, or Stone Dog of the Imran Sept of the Sharad Aiel. He's looking for he who comes with the dawn, aka Jesus or Rand. And then Perrin tells him Rand is headed to Tyr. Gaul cites Aiel prophecy that says, when the stone of Tyr falls, we will leave the threefold land at last. We will be changed and find again what was ours and what was lost. A dozen white cloaks attack. Oh, after Perrin frees Gaul by like finding a weak link in the chain.
And then he makes some kind of comment like, this is a crappy cage. Like, they should have built this better.
He's such a blacksmith where he's like, I could definitely tell where they really cut corners to put this poor man in a cage and then throw rocks at him. How dare they? And then a dozen white cloaks attack, and Perrin and Gaul kill them all. Gaul tells Perrin that only he and his friend Saryan were attacked by Orban. Saryan was killed. Gaul runs off in the night, and as Perrin's headed back, he sees the girl who was watching him. Lan walks up, sees what Perrin did, and says, we have to leave immediately, you idiot.
We gotta go.
And so he like Perrin comes back, and like Orban is telling the tale of how he attacked 20 Aielmen, and Perrin's like, yeah, sure you did. So then Perrin fetches Loyal and was like, hey buddy, remember that bed you wanted to sleep in?
Sorry about that, bro.
Sorry, bro, my bad. I just had to free the man. But freedom is more important than that bed. So they run out, they head to the docks, they board like the Snow Goose, captained by Jaime Adara. Yeah. Just as they cast off, a girl jumps on board, and it's the same girl.
It's the one that was staring at him, Zareen or something.
And, yes. And she tells him that the town folk think Gal escaped by himself. And they're like, now we have to go after him, because they're, and she's like, and Orban is like, oh no, I can't go out. I'm so sorry. My ankle hurt. Like, and Perrin's
I have a bad paper cut.
Yeah, and Perrin's just like, yeah, he would have soiled himself if he had to go after them. And she's like, maybe not soiled himself, but yeah, he's a pretty weakling. And then she says she is a hunter of the horn and took the oath with the others in the square of Tamaz and Ilion. And she followed Perrin because this was such an odd party, and she thinks they might lead her to the horn, and she thinks like weird things should happen, and she didn't mention that Orban's not a bad fighter. He just kind of took advantage of,
Yeah.
She says like people think the horn is in the Forest of Shadows, but she thinks it's in the Mountain of Mist, and Perrin's like, it's not in either of those places. And then she learned that the queens of Manatharan were all, she mentions Manatharan, which is why she thinks it's in the Mountains of Mist. And she says like the capital of Manatharan, all the queens there were Aes Sedai, and the kings were warders. And he mentions she handles knives as well as Tom Marilyn, because she's awesome. And then my favorite part, she says she calls herself Mondarb,
which is Lan's horse's name.
Perrin starts laughing, and she's like, hey, it means like this beautiful thing. And Perrin's like, yeah, I know, the horse's name is and she's like,
the horse has the same name.
She says, so my real name is Zuri Bashir. And then as Perrin heads towards the cabin, she says she calls herself Faeli, which means, or her father called herself Faeli, which means falcon. And Perrin remembers Min's viewing of him.
It's like, oh no.
Yeah, this is going to happen.
Come on, Min.
So then,
why'd you have to say that?
I know. So then Perrin decides to go to sleep because he thinks he's safe, because he's away from wolves, so he can actually rest. But then he's in a thick fog. He can't. He sees Hopper. Balsamon is there with several people, all asking him why they were brought there in their sleep. One is from Tyr. One is
it Balsamon or is it Ishmael? I don't know.
Okay, so that comes at the end of this. Like, if we want to do a little bit of a spoiler, which I actually think I did in the first book, because I was like reading an explanation because I didn't understand. And I was like, Ishmael and Balsamon are the same people. And you were like, oh, okay. And I was like, they're different than the Dark One. So we find out at the end of this book, Ishmael is different than the Dark One, but Balsamon is supposed to be the Dark One. It's just Ishmael is using the false name of the Dark One to do his own deeds.
Okay, because I was so confused in this chapter as to
It's-
who it was, if it was Balsamon or if it was Ishmael, or like
Okay,
what was going on.
spoilers for the end of this episode. Ishmael is using Balzamon's name to make himself more powerful. I think he's like one of the
Okay.
most powerful ones, so he decided he was going to use this. So we kind of
Okay.
find out that like Rand is often probably going up against Ishmael, not the Dark One. So every
Okay.
time he's killing him, he's just coming back because he's so powerful, but it's not actually Balsamon.
It's Ishmael.
But at this
Okay.
point, we don't know that. We think it's still Balsamon.
So
if that makes sense,
Ishmael
people.
is like someone that is minion of
Yes, he's a
Balsamon.
minion. He's one of the Forsaken.
Okay.
So Balsamon is there. He sees a bunch of people, like one from Tyr, one is in red and gold from Ilion, one from Tar-Valon, and is a
Lanfear.
merchant in plain cut but very fine clothing. He sees Lanfear. Balsamon is mad because the one from Tar-Valon let a boy escape, aka Matt. He screams and disappears. Balsamon orders the rest to wake. They all disappear. Then Selene or Lanfear comes, which we know from the end of the last book. He addresses her as Lanfear, so Perrin does know who she is now. She claims the dream place as her domain. She says her time in the Boar was endless, a dreamless sleep. She like hates him. And then she said like she loves the dream area, you know, and she says only gray men and Myrtle are denied dreams. Dreams were always mine. So then Balsamon was like, do you not serve the great Lord? And she's like, I do, but no other. She mocks Balsamon, saying despite his 3,000 years of planning, Lews Therin is back and the Aes Sedai control him. She had controlled Lews Therin before. Ileana had, and she will again. They disappear, and Hopper takes Perrin to a grassy hillside. Hopper warns him to be wary. And then he says, of the wolves, all are here, all brothers and sisters that are, that were, all that will be. Then he flies away. And then Perrin sees Rand surrounded by Fades and Gray Men. Rand burns them all. Perrin sees more coming over and rises and yells to war on Rand, and Rand fires at him, which burns his chest. He goes to Morin's cabin. He shows her the burn. She warns him to avoid the Red Aja and be wary of his dreams.
And he's like, can you heal me? And she's like, no,
I can't. And then she's like, hey, I think you can do something really suspicious and don't tell Red Aja because they will try to steal you. And like, they can't, but it'll be painful for you.
Yeah.
And then he asks about the name Zareen, and she tells him it's a Chaldean name, which is suited for a heartbreaker of great beauty. And then he says, oh, you know, and he goes up to the deck where Land is tending to Mandarb, and Zareen / Faylie is there, and she watches him. Then you see Rand for like the third time ever. He awakes and he's like worried because he knows that Perrin was real, and he's so worried he almost killed him. A female merchant comes up and her guards approach. She was like, oh, you're on your way to Remen. And then Rand just attacks them without any hint that they were bad.
Right.
And he like sees that like someone in the party had a dagger, and he was like, who knows? But I am reading off of like encyclopedia pages, and Robert Jordan has confirmed the woman was a dark friend. So it's almost like, don't worry, Rand had a reason. Don't hate the main character.
That wasn't evident though.
That was not evident. I thought it was like a kind of a showing that Rand was going crazy.
That's what I thought too. But
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess good that it was a dark friend. Right.
Then it switches over to Egwene. She hasn't found anything useful recently. She's still using the twisted ring every night. But she's had numerous dreams, and there's just a ton of different ones, like Rand holding a sword that blazed like the sun, Rand threatened in a dozen ways, none of them the least bit real, Rand on huge stone boards, like stones as big as boulders, Perrin with a wolf, a falcon, a hawk. That falcon and the hawk are fighting again. Okay. Remember, we think they're both women, so guess who's gonna fight over Perrin?
Women be fighting over Perrin.
Apparently, because it can't be any of the characters we already know. It has to be new ones. You have to introduce new love interests, because Rand already has 3. Perrin will have 2, and then Matt may have 1. I guess we did say, like, in the last 2 books, I don't think Perrin will have a love interest for a while. And it's just like, never mind. The next book.
It happened so fast. But we did say that it'd be somebody random.
Yes. And this is someone random. And then Perrin like trying to jump over a cliff, saying it must be done. And Aiel, and she thought that had to do with Perrin too. Min bringing a steel trap, but somehow walking through it was without so much as seeing it. Matt with dice. Matt followed by a man who's not there. Matt riding desperately towards something. Matt with fire. A woman who seem to toss fireworks. All of that happened. White cloaks ravaging the two rivers. Several dreams about the San Chen. Men and women coming out of cages, then putting on crowns. A woman playing with puppets. Kings dying, queens weeping, battles raging. Elaine is upset about all this destruction. This surprises Egwene, who recalls a lesson from Bene Sedai, stating that Kyrene and Andor have had frequent wars. Egwene realizes that one of her dreams means the gray man is after Mat. Suddenly, the blue cane runs aground on a mudflat. The girls decide to walk off and to the next village. And then they're like, maybe we'll meet that ship down there, Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, an Aiel woman steps in front of them. Mm-hmm. They talk to her and they ask for a healer. And this is Avienda of Nine Valleys, a sept of the Tardal Aiel. She's a maiden of the spear, which means that they're warriors. And she says Aes Sedai are similar to wise ones, so they trust them because they believe they are all Aes Sedai. And Nynaeve is like, yeah, we're Aes Sedai. Don't worry about it.
Well, and they think as Aielmen that they're indebted to the Aes Sedai.
Right. And then two other women come out that they didn't see at all. And when Nynaeve agrees to try to heal their friend, that is Chayad of Stone Rivers, Goshen, and Bane of the Black Rock Sharad. Bane and Chayad are bonded first sisters, which I didn't quite understand. Cousins? They're cousins. Yeah, pretty much. And they're like, are you first sisters? And Nynaeve is like, she's like my first sister. And then they're like, well, that's weird. Why wouldn't she just be your first sister? There are other ways of doing that. And Nynaeve is like, it sounds like they want us to sleep with the same man. And I'm not cool with that. Or Egwene says that. And it's like, okay, that's fair.
Which I think that's kind of what it is, where it's they kind of share a man. Is that what?
Right. And they also find out that women who wed the sword, they can have children, but then they give them away.
Yeah, they have a child and then they kind of just pass them all around and everybody takes care of them.
Right. And it's honor
they all
to raise
share
them.
Yeah. It's it takes a village to raise a child, and they take that very seriously.
The women of the sword do not raise this child. They give him away because they are wedded to the sword. And they also talk about how it's been passed down that their savior is going to be born of one of these women. And that's why people want to raise them so badly, because they may raise the savior. Newsflash, I don't think they did. So then they
didn't raise him.
No. So then they go down and they come to people with Maiden, Jolien, and Dylan. And Dylan has a sword stomach wound, saying they were attacked by soldiers thinking they were bandits. Nynaeve was like, why did you move her? And they were like, she wanted to die by water. And they're all weirded out by this because they don't understand how much the Aiel people are weirded out by large bodies of water, because water is so lacking in their lands.
They're from the desert, so.
Yes. And Elaine says that Aiel once served the Aes Sedai, so they will never attack Aes Sedai, even if they bring lightning or balefire down on them. And Egwene recalls thinking about balefire in her trip through the Three Arches, but still doesn't know what it is. Nynaeve heals Dylan, and she uses a very complex magic that Egwene can barely follow.
Yeah, it was and is this the point where she uses herbs too? And they mentioned something like, "Oh, I didn't know that I said I used herbs," and she's like, "Well, this one does."
This one does, and that's important because 5 minutes after they leave the Aielmen, they're captured by men who are going to sell them as Aes Sedai. But are too stupid that they gave them something that only helped with headaches and made them a little drowsy, but doesn't put them to sleep, and they thought that they did. So Egwene wakes up once and they hit her again, and then they do it again, and then Elaine is so hurt that she could die. And Nynaeve is like, they took my herbs, I can't do without the herbs. And Egwene is like, yes, you can.
She's like, channel.
Just do what you need to do. And so
Nynaeve has to work herself up into a frenzy to be so mad.
Yes. So then they do heal Elaine. They're able to kind of wake her up. They Egwene unlocks the lock open with a tiny flow, but but before she does this, three Fades enter the room. One examines Lan's ring and says that these are the Aes Sedai he seeks. And when Egwene tries to open up the lock, the Fade feels it, and then there's a huge battle where Nynaeve unleashes a rod of brilliant light, and they simply ban it. And Egwene is like, well, that was balefire. I guess I was wondering, and now I know. And then they're worried about all the people outside, but then they find out that the Aiel followed them. And unfortunately, Dylan dies 20 minutes after Nynaeve saved her. And this like makes Nynaeve so mad. They're led by Ruark, who is a clan chief. Avienda said she followed them. Then she located Karam and Dael and Luane, who are all Aiel people, and they kind of all fought for them. And Ruark sees the ring, like Lan's ring, and he recognizes it as the Malkiri King's ring.
He says something about like, this is the strangest thing I've ever seen, or something like that.
Right. But they're just like, oh yeah, isn't that like the entire line was killed off except for a baby who was raised for a sword? Nynaeve was like, give me my ring back. And so then the three girls get horses. The Aiel people just run next to them, and they're like, we don't want any of these horses, and like let them all loose. And so then they go on and they find a new ship to go down, and they pay to get to Tyr. Let's go back to Matt and Tom. They arrive at Erangel at the Grey Gull. He's glad, like the captain is glad to see them go because Matt ate so much food and he won all his money. Matt admits that he was like throwing food overboard, which shows that Matt is still very immature because he just like didn't want the guy to have it. But then he sees like kids starving and he does feel remorse for that.
Also, he read Elaine's letter.
Yes, he like opens it, reads it, and is like, I guess this is nothing, and then reseals it. He thinks that the killers are after him because of Elaine's letter.
Yeah, which is so
it's so dumb. People are
misguided.
Warning him all the time. Like, you blew the horn, you're in danger. And he's like, I don't think I'm in danger. He keeps
gotta be this autograph.
He like, they can't find an inn. He wins like the right to stay in the stable with Tom, and then this woman comes in. And then she's attacked, and you find out that it's Aludra, the mistress of the Illuminator chapter house in Kyrene, which was where Rand exploded everything.
Yeah.
And you find out she was kicked out because of this. And now she's like trying to sell fireworks, and people are saying like, well, you were never supposed to sell fireworks like that. And she's like, well, I have to make a living, and you guys, like, I'm not doing it because I'm not breaking any rules because you kicked me out. So all of that happens. Sorry for the dogs in the background, everyone. I'm guessing someone they haven't seen for half an hour came in and upset them. Matt like helps kill all these men who are after her, and she gives them a bunch of fireworks as a thank you.
Yeah.
And then Matt is like, we should leave before these men wake up. And as they're waking up, like Matt and Tom are still packing up things to leave. I know. It's just like, this is gonna be the weirdest scene I've ever read. Like they're just like, ugh, and Matt's like, come on, we better like keep moving. Don't knock them out again. They might just chase after us. I don't know. So then it jumps over to Perrin. They arrive in Ilion, and like Zoraine is still following them, and Feli, I guess I'll just call her Feli because that's what this website calls her the entire time. And she's
Can
like,
I just say that she has like this weird like be mean to the boy I have a crush on thing.
Oh my gosh. Also, she does this thing that happens on Gilmore Girls where Rory Gilmore, when she's trying to be a good reporter, which newsflash, she is not, and she's going to look into the secret society, like walks up to this man she thinks is involved in the society. And she's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to follow you because you're going to show me something. And I'm going to follow you here. And I'm going to follow you there. And I'm going to follow you everywhere. And it's just like, if you are trying to do a secret report of this, why would you be doing this? Like, don't announce yourself. But that's not.
And that's what she does right away. She just tells Perrin, like, I'm following you everywhere.
Right. So that happens. And so Moraine is like so mad that Feli is going to follow them. And she's like, fine, but you have to like swear on your hunter's oath that you can't ask questions. You can't do anything. Like, you will keep secrets, and like if not, I will make sure you stay here and like until I come back and let you go. And Feli's like, okay. And then Moraine's like, now she's your responsibility. And Perrin's mad because he's like, no, because that means she's the Falcon that Min told me about, and I hate knowing these things. But that's how it is. So they like go into Ilion. Loyal's super nervous about running into another Ogier from his steading. He like, and then he's like also asking, why does Moraine want me around? And he's like, oh, I guess I could help her through the ways. And Feli is like overhearing. And then Moraine and Lan are like, something's wrong with the city. This is not good. They go into an inn. They're kind of just sitting there and hanging out. And then like Moraine is saying as Mistress Mari, because that's her name there.
Yeah, her and Lan have some kind of alias.
Right. And they find out that like a bunch of people are having weird dreams, which like leaves Maureen shaken. She asks about a ship to Tyr. Nieda, like the person at the inn, replies that there are none. There's talk of war, and the Council of Nine has banned travel to Tyr. And then there's like rumors of an army looking north to Marundi. And then she comments that she has to do something tonight, and like she's like afraid or something. And then Loyal finds out that like some Ogiers were doing work there and then left the work unfinished, which just shouldn't happen because Ogiers don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of weird stuff is happening here. And then all of a sudden, Perrin smells the same stink he kept smelling, and 6 gray men attack Perrin. And like he knows this because everyone is trying to like fight them off, and they're only coming after Perrin, who has no weapon at the moment, and he's very frustrated by it. After that, Lan and Maureen are like, "How did you sense them?" And he's like, "I could smell them." And then Maureen is like, "Perrin seems really important." And she goes out into the night, and she's like, "Lan, you have to stay here." And Lan is like, "I don't want to go." And she's like, "Too bad." And so Lan then asks Perrin to like go help him search for more people outside. And Perrin's like weirdly complimented by this, but then Lan is also like, "Loyal, Feli, you come too." And they're like, "Why us?" And Perrin's like, "Well, they seem a little useless, but okay." And so they kind of go around, they don't see anything, but then Perrin finds footprints, and Lan realizes that these are dark hounds that haven't been about since the Trolloc Wars.
They leave footprints in stone. They don't leave footprints on like dirt. And
then Lan uses this as an excuse to go find Maureen, because he's like, "Well, I have to tell her this, so even though she ordered me not to go, I get to tell her about this."
I know.
It's just so random. I don't understand. So then Perrin has several dreams. He sees like a tall, slender man in richly embroidered coat and boots with gold fringe, shining like the sun, laughing triumphantly. Sometimes the man sat on the throne. He also sees
Matt
rattling a dice cup, and he's playing against Balsamon. And Perrin's like screaming at him, like, "Don't play against Balsamon!" And then he sees Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine in a huge metal cage. And then he sees Hopper. Hopper warns him of danger. Perrin doesn't understand. And then Hopper showed, like, he asked why he got to see Balsamon and Lanfear. And Hopper calls them Heartfang and Moonhunter. And then answers that the last hunt is coming. Then he tells him about the Gray Man and the Dark Hound, and Hopper tells him to flee and knocks him off a cliff. Perrin wakes and he finds Feli in his room. Maureen enters looking pale and tells them that the Forsaken are loose and one rules Ilion. And she says Samael's and Ilion, they have to run right now because she thinks that he was the one who sent the Dark Hound after her. The Gray Men, she doesn't think were after her. And she doesn't think that he would have sent 2 groups to hurt this group of people. So they don't know who the Gray Men who the Gray Men are being sent by. But they run. Perrin blurts out that Rand is the Dragon Reborn in front of Feli and Nieda, like an idiot. And Maureen like swears them both the secrecy and tells Feli like, now you don't get to turn back. So then they ride
with us now.
Then they find out like Dark Hounds are pursuing them. They decide to kill them, and Perrin kills one, and Maureen balefires the rest, which is how this website says it, and that makes me laugh. She just balefires them all. And so then
that's what happens,
right? She says that like, this was likely all that he sent, but they need to keep moving. And Maureen says that they are not Samael's main quarry, and Perrin asks if it's Rand. She says perhaps it's Matt, since he's also Tavern, and he blew the horn of Valir. And Valir is like, "What?" Because this girl is
that's what she's after.
Yeah. And so she was just put on this journey for no reason. But then it like cuts back to Matt. He tries to, cuts up one of the firecrackers when he's inside, and Tom like yells at him. And then like these people come to their campfire and they all attack, and Matt and Tom kill them, except for the woman who's with them. And Matt thinks like, "Oh, it's not her fault. We'll have her arrested because women and, patriarchy." And Tom just murders her. He's like, "No, she had a dagger, you idiot. Women can be killers too. Stop being distracted by a pretty face."
I asked her to dance if she didn't have a dagger, tried to kill me.
And Matt is still like, "Oh God, this is all over a letter." So dumb.
All it
so
says
dumb.
Is, "I'm leaving, Mom."
Yes, over this letter, Matt. So Matt arrives in Camelin. They go back to the old place they were at, or like Tom goes. But first, Matt tries to get into the castle. He accidentally first says, "I have a letter from Tarvalon," and they're like,
"Well,
if you don't have."
It's funny that the way he gets into, he just like climbs over the wall, like Rand did, and I was like, This place is not very secure. This is like, come on, security nightmare.
Also, he runs into one of the soldiers and he's like, I have like Elaine sent a letter. And he's like, how did you get in here? And he's like quiet. He's like, that dang wall. And it's like, yes, the wall.
Why is no one watching it?
My gosh. But like when he first tries to get in, there's like a guy who won't let him in because he said it was from Tarvalon, and he keeps trying to say it's from Elaine, and he can't do it. So then he goes to the Queen's Blessing, where he thinks everyone will remember him, and no one does.
Right.
Besides the like innkeeper. So then Matt is like, well, I've been lucky. I'll climb over the wall. So he climbs over the wall, and he hears people talking about how they want to kill Elaine, and one is named Komar, and he like hears them through a window, but he can't look up because there's soldiers walking around. And like, it's a man with a deep voice saying like, you must kill Elaine, like just let her vanish. This will help like get Tarvalon, you know. And the Great Master is concerned that one in Tyr is too impatient about getting Kalendor and might try to use Elaine for his own benefits. Komar is like really worried about finding her. They traced a ship, but then they left and there's no trace of them. Matt is able to look over the arch and sees Komar based on his voice because it's like high pitch, but he doesn't see the other guy. Then he runs into Guardsman Lieutenant Talonvor, who takes him before Morghese, and he's like, wow, she's so pretty. I wish I could dance with her. What are you saying? She's a queen. But she's attended by a man named Gabriel. And when Gabriel talks, Matt realizes that this was the Great Master who was talking to Komar, and he is dangerous and wants to kill him, but he like can't tell Morghese that in front of this man. And so Matt lies and says he's from Comfrey and was at the White Tower visiting Elsie, like as a way to not tell them where he's from because he thinks that will be suspicious. And then they tell him that he needs to take a message back to Elaine, that she misses her quiet talks with Shiriam in her study, and like, you know, she like Morghese understands why Elaine might choose to stay or something along those lines. And this upsets Comfrey, this upsets Gabriel, but Gabriel gives him like a huge sack of money to go back and give this letter to her. And then Gabriel begins pushing Morghese to use her marriage to Terengel to Modred, who was her prior husband, to claim the Sun Throne. And Matt is like, I don't trust that guy. So then Talonvor escorts Matt to the main gate, which I was wondering, why didn't Matt tell him in this part? Like, this guy seems trustworthy. Why didn't you ask him? Like, hey, do you like that guy? And he even asked, like, are you there for Gabriel? And he's like, no, I serve the queen. And it's like, seems like a good moment to like slip in, hey, I think he wants to murder her daughter. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
It kind of reminds me of in Lord of the Rings in Two Towers, when you've got the king who's being fed all this misinformation and nobody really says anything.
Yeah.
They kind of just let it happen.
But so he like goes back and asks the innkeeper about Gabriel. He's like not a huge fan. He says that he came last winter either from the two rivers or the mountains. He came while Morghese was still in Tarvalon. He restored order because there was like a ton of unrest, and Morghese returned. She was so pleased with him that she like replaced him with Elida, who was her former Aes Sedai. And then he kind of asked him about Lord Kamar, and he was like, yeah, he was a leader in the Queen's Guard till he was accused of using weighted dice. Gil says he can't start a rumor about and then like Matt tells them that Elaine is in danger because of Gabriel, and Gil says he can start a rumor about the danger by telling Gilda the maid, because she told everyone about one of his dreams. I'm like, oh no, he's in danger, because like everyone was having those dreams. So what if it does lead back to him? Because he was like, oh yeah, I told her about my dreams, and then everyone said they were having that dream. And I'm like, no, people were having that dream.
Yep.
Like, you are in danger. She might make it lead back to you, but he like is pretty trustworthy. And then Tom says, like, Matt asks Tom, like, are you concerned about Morghese? And he's like, well, of course, like I, will always cherish her, but I'm not passionate about her. So I'm not going to go running to like get into the sky, but I will keep following you. And so then they catch a ship, and Matt gives Gabriel's purse to Gil, telling him it is the stakes in a game that against Gabriel that he would make sure Elaine stayed safe, even though Gabriel didn't know they made a bet at any point in time. It was just in Matt's head. Then we jump back to Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve. They are in Tyr. They are calling themselves Jocelyn, Carla, and Miriam, respectively. Egwene is seasick, but Nynaeve is worse. And they have started arguing a lot. Like they cannot agree on anything. Egwene is very upset with Nynaeve to the point where I was triggered because
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But
previous episode or future episode,
we will learn all about how Hannah screamed at two friends about her feelings about Nynaeve during this time, because we're getting a lot of Egwene's experience. But this episode is so long anymore. Like anyway,
keep going. That's why I said future episode.
No, I know. She's also had a lot of more dreams, a lot of repeats. You know, Matt shouting to her, "I am coming," which is the funniest. Like, I'm coming, Queen. Like this man that she has no feelings for. It's just Matt yelling at her. I'm coming. It's okay. It's just, is there a TV episode where someone's like, "Don't watch this without me"? Like it's someone screaming to not watch a TV show without them. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But anyway, they like get there and Nynaeve was like, "We can't go to an inn. It's not trustworthy enough." And then Nynaeve looks around for another wisdom like woman like her, and they find Mother Gwenna. Nynaeve, like they do like a bartering of like the wisdoms, and they both have like good respect for each other. Nynaeve gets a spare bedroom and says that they're looking for thieves. She's like not lying, but she's very manipulative. And then when Gwenna leaves, Egwene says that she's acting a lot like Moraine, and then Elaine hits her. We will discuss that later. But Mother Gwenna brings in Julian Sandar, a thief catcher who is like similar to Huron, who will like go out and try to find these women that they describe and like what they're looking for. And so they're still looking and they give like detailed descriptions. Then it jumps over to Matt. They travel to Tyr. Matt is still playing with the dice. They go into an inn and they start searching for all, like when he gets there, it's raining and it's lightning, and he looks over and he sees this house with like herbs in the window, which guess what? It's probably Mother Gwenna's house. But anyway, they go off to the inns. They try to look, but in one inn, he learns of a lord who keeps winning. And that's like really weird that a lord would win against a commoner. Matt walks over and he realizes it's Komar. He like, that's him. Komar rolls, and then Matt grabs it before he can switch them out for like real die, because he was definitely using loaded die. Matt rolls, and like there's a weird like feeling in his brain, and he rolls a perfect hand, showing like he was even able to manipulate weighted die. And then he asks Komar if he's like found them yet, and Komar's like, "I haven't found them." And then he realizes he knows what's going on, and he's like, "Who are you?" And they fight. Matt flips him. He like lands on a table and breaks his back. And then as he's dying, he tells Matt other people are hunting the girls.
And also Tom has been coughing.
Yes. And it's getting worse. And Matt begins having bad dreams about a man with white hair, who's like out to get Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve. And then Moraine, fellow holding a blazing crystal sword, and Rand holding the blazing crystal sword. So then Perrin and all of them are now in Tyr. They're looking for Rand. Perrin starts to reach out for the wolves, but he stops himself. He knows it's hot and humid. He's just like, he ends up working for a blacksmith for a while because he just misses it. And
this guy's like impressed with how good he is.
Right. He's really impressed. Like, and then he's also like talking to Moraine more and more, and she's kind of like trusting him more and more. She tells him that like the High Lord Salmon, who is in Tyr, is Balal, who is another Forsaken. She thinks he will let Rand take Kalendor, and then he will take it from Rand so that he can like kind of fight over the Dark One.
Yeah.
Moraine mentions that Ishamael and Lanfear are the strongest of the Forsaken. She asked Loyal and he like what he knows about Balal. He raised the Hall of Servants just before Lews Therin, and his companions sealed the Boar. Loyal recalls 2 Ogier authors also wrote about Balal. And they said he was envious because he was jealous of Lews Therin. And then he was called like a net weaver. Balal and Samael were leaders in the fight against the Dark One before they forsook the light. Both were also masters of the sword. Moraine and Lan plan on entering the stone. She says even the Forsaken cannot stand up to Balefire, so she's going to go after them. And Balefire is like not allowed as Aes Sedai. She said she could get stilled if they found out she was doing it, but she needs to.
Oops,
and then
Nynaeve did it too.
Lan also, yes, exactly. Lan also mentions he saw Aiel on the rooftops. And then, Perrin recalls the Aiel and Remen said that when the stone falls, the Aiel will leave the threefold land. Bear with us, guys. 5 chapters left. This is a long book. Nynaeve is like walking through Tyr. She spots Rand, but she can't believe it's really him. And then she gets into the house and she like recognizes that she's been really angry with Egwene. And she kind of like talks about a lot of their stuff that we'll discuss later. Yeah. When she gets there, Julian is outside and he's nervous. He's like, I found out that 13 women were guests in the High Lord of Salmon. Why are you saying these women who like obviously couldn't be evil are evil? And she's like, don't worry, I'll explain. She goes in and then she sees that Mother Guena is tied up and Leandrin and Rihanna are in there with several soldiers. They cut her off from the true source. They beat her up a ton because she's fighting it, which it was one of the funniest moments where Rihanna like came up and she was like, see, child, you need to learn. And Nynaeve punches her in the face.
Yes.
I was like, okay, I'm a little bit of a fan of Nynaeve right now. Because like, damn, and then she like hits Leandrin. She puts up a good fight, but they take them by coach. And then like Leandrin admits she used compulsion on Julian. She makes Gwenna promise to not tell anyone or else she will kill her. And Gwenna's like, okay. And she's like, I couldn't do anything anyway. And then Matt realizes like, well, first Matt realized his luck only works if it's random. Like he can't use it to affect outcomes, but he is generally lucky. So he starts looking for them in like different ways. But then Tom gets so sick, he decides to go to a wisdom. He meets Mother Gwenna. Shocking. And she realizes that she sounds like the Emerald Sea. He comments on her accent. And then Gwenna replies that she knows 2 girls that sound like Matt. They realize that it is Egwene and Nynaeve when he gives her a description. She tells him what happened and like it was only 3 hours ago. So then he asks her to look after Tom and he heads to the White Crescent and the dice are tumbling inside his head and he decides he has to go save the girls. So he ends up going up on the rooftops. He meets Aielmen up there who are also trying to climb in. He sees a man climbing in at that time. And he runs into the man who sold out. He runs into Julian. And Julian offers to help rescue them because he thought that he was doing the right thing. And he was compelled to do it. But now he regrets it and he wants to help save the girls. So they're going in. Flashback to Perrin. Perrin is spending another day working for the blacksmith. He goes in, they discuss like Moraine and Lan are prepared to go into Tyr, into the stone and say they have sensed that Rand's there. And because many people have started dreaming of Rand and Collindor, many people are having nightmares. And then they tell them that Perrin and Loyal and Feli aren't allowed to go. And Feli is very upset. She like bursts into Maureen's room and then like finds out that like there's a hedgehog like powerful thing in there that bound her into sleep that was meant for Moraine, and Moraine was like, well, too bad for her, I gotta go. And Perrin's like, I must help her. So he decides, and like Maureen says that she's kind of locked in sleep. It was a tearing Griel. And so Perrin goes into the dream world to help Feli. He brings his axe. During this time he was given a hammer by the blacksmith who really liked him. Yeah. He searches for her. He finds her a couple of times. And like throughout this time, he ends up losing the hammer, which I am assuming is a theme of him letting go of his past self to be a new person. Yeah. And he ends up like saving her. She wakes up and she's like, I knew my wolf would come for me because yeah. So anyway, back to that's the end of Perrin in this book. I know. Egwene wakes up at the cell with Elaine and Nynaeve. They cannot channel. But they left them with their serpent rings and all their rings and everything. So she realized she still has the twisted ring. So she decides to go into the dream world and see if she can channel there because she should be able to. Nynaeve and Elaine kind of argue about this, but then they trust her. She goes in and she finds Joya Byrier, like who is one of the 13 Aes Sedai who got away from everything. And at this time they also threatened that 13 Aes Sedai and 13 Myrddraal are coming, which means that they will still these women. So that like all the girls are very afraid of this. She goes in, she hunts down one Aes Sedai and keeps her captured. And then she has one half captured. So then they go, but she goes back into the cell and they can kind of almost hit their power, but not really. And then Matt comes in, he's fighting and battling everyone. He fights like Lord Darlin while Julian guards his back. He is an excellent fighter, but Matt knocks him out. He sees Rand trot across the corridor and doubts it, but like he definitely saw him. He ends up finding the girls. He finds like the Aes Sedai woman that Egwene half like trapped in the dream world, and he's like, oh, she looks so harmed, you know. And Julian is like, no, she's one of the bad ones. So they open up this cell and find Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine in there, and then Nynaeve punches the woman out, and then they're able to channel again. So they go off searching.
Takes a little bit of anger for Nynaeve.
just a little bit. So then they go off searching for Leandrin. Shocker, they don't find them. Then all of a sudden it's Rand, and Balal confronts him. He calls him Luz Theron and tells him to take Kalendor. Rand accuses him of caging the three women. He confesses surprise, then says Luz Theron always puts his heart ahead of power. And then Rand like battles him. He announces like everything with him, says he's like trying to fight against the Dark One. Balal tries to give him a chance to say they're allies. He doesn't. He ends up killing him. Oh no, Moraine kills him using balefire. Yeah. And then Moraine tells Rand it's too soon, but he must take Kalendor now. And then Balsamon comes into the room and tries to take Rand's soul. Rand feels like he's tearing up, but he grabs Kalendor, and then Balsamon runs, and Rand becomes the hunter. And he runs into the dream world, and he's running after them, and he sees, Perrin while he's there. All of a sudden, Balsamon calls on the Dark One to aid him, and the shadow swells, but Rand uses it to sever all the wires. Balsamon dwindles and grows larger at the same time, and there's a huge fight, and Rand stabs him through the chest with Kalendor, and the shadow vanishes. Suddenly, they're both back in the real world. Balsamon's body has a hole burned through it. The fighting resumes, but Rand thinks he's killed the Dark One and won Tarman Gaydon. He brings down lightning with Kalendor and commands the fighting to stop and claims the title of Dragon Reborn. Everyone kneels with him. And then we have the final thing. In the morning, people of Tear wake from dreams of the Dragon Reborn battling Balsamon. And we see Mat for the final time. And he says he's like hitting on Aiel women who are like, yeah, but sure thing. And Maureen tells them that Perrin is in Tear and like there might be some trouble for his companion. And the girls are like, what companion? And she's just like, it'll be found out. They find one of the seals that are still intact. She says that like they were hidden during the breaking. She's worried about what's going to happen with them. Matt asks if he can leave because like it's all over now. And like they also realize that the Aiel people are the people of the dragon, because it says the people of the dragon will fight when the stone falls. And that's what happened the night before, so that they are all part of this. Matt asked if they were people of the dragon. She was like, maybe, maybe not. You just don't know. But she does say that they're all a fool if they think the Dark One is actually dead, because he would not leave a human body. And this is where she identifies that they think Balsamon might well have just been Ishamael, who was using a false name to make himself the Dark One. But there's still 9 Forsaken loose. And then a beautiful woman comes in and eyes rock with interest and gives a parchment to Moraine. And she has she has hawks on her lapels, doesn't she?
Yes.
Yes. And she says that she is Berelain, the first of Mayene. And she like brings a letter asking Rand to dine with her. And she says that she might want to dine with Ruck later. And then Maureen reads the message aloud, and it says, Luz Theron was mine, he is mine, and he will be mine forever. I give him into your charge to keep for me until I come. And it is signed by Lanfear. Maureen reminds Matt that he is Tavern, and well as the sounder of the horn of Valir, that he can't just walk away, And Matt says he really plans to leave as soon as Tom is fit to travel, because he doesn't care. He hopes Perrin comes with him. And that is the end of the novel. I don't think we have too much to say, just because that was so long. We apologize.
I've been really quiet just because I've been trying to let you get through it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I wish there were a shorter way to do this, but I'm not sure there is.
I don't think there is either.
Ideas. We apologize. Like, again, we're going to talk more about everything in the next couple weeks. This is just a big, like, mouthful of things that we're talking about, and a ton happens in this book. Like, so much happens in this book. This is one of the most in-depth books ever, guys. There are funny parts, there are not funny parts. We know that who the Hawk and the Falcon are now. Yada yada yada.
We already know who his lovers are.
Maureen keeps threatening to leave. Sooner or later she is going to leave, and Lamb's going to have to go to the Green Aja, all that stuff. But I can't wait. I mean, I really liked this novel. People haven't read it. This is the best of the 3 so far. I like that they keep getting better and better. Yeah.
Agreed.
So, and we both love that Rand was not involved in this.
I just think it's a better book when he's not in it as much.
So much better to just know he's going somewhere and they have to meet him there.
Exactly.
It's like the person who's like running a marathon and it's like, you seem to be sprinting these first 2 miles. I'll meet you later. Like, you head out. I'll meet you when you're tired and we'll all finish together. So,
right.
Yeah. This was a mouthful. I can't believe this much happened in this book. It is a crazy. Nynaeve punches people in the face. It's the most I've liked Nynaeve ever.
Elaine slaps people.
Elaine slaps people who didn't deserve it.
Loyal and Perrin catch fish, but not as well as Moraine.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Moraine catching fish. And she's like this? And then she just
They're like, it's really hard. You can't do it. And she's like, you mean these 12 fish over here that I caught?
Loyal has a job now. He's writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Things are happening, people.
Yeah.
I will try better next time to have like shorter notes, but I don't know how.
These are long books, so
they're long books.
The audiobooks, I think, are like 40 hours. So
yes.
It's difficult to get 40 hours down into one.
Laura and I once tossed around doing, like, Laura's tossed this around. I was more ambivalent to it, but she tossed around maybe splitting up plot episodes into 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I could see doing like 2/3 of it and then the last third and then like themes we see and then men and women. I guess we could do something like that where like the women is the wrap-up episode. I guess people DM us at us if you think we should change
let us
it.
know if you would rather listen to like 2 episodes on plot
where like we talk about themes in one of them but not for as long. Just let us know. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. That's OWWR pod on all social platforms. You can email us at gmail.com on that. Just anything you want to reach out to us. And rating, reviewing, and subscribing is important because it helps us get out to other people in the community. And just remember, have a good day. And on Wednesdays, we read. Bye.
Bye.